Retail workers of Reddit, what is the most desperate scam a customer has tried to pull on you? I used to work a game store a little more than 10 years ago. Once had a woman come in dressed fairly trendy and ask for 2 PlayStation Portables PSP, 2 Xbox 360s, and a handful of games and accessories. My store was pretty slow, so this would be a pretty big sale for the day, and I was excited about it. She goes to pay and hands me a credit card which was not laminated and appeared to be printed out on a home color printer. I told her it wouldn't work, and she said just scan it anyway. So I scanned her fake credit card, which clearly did not have a magnetic strip, and it didn't work, of course. She told me to just put the numbers in on the computer. I refused and she asked why, seemingly legitimately confused. I told her I just couldn't. She told me she would be back with cash. I put everything back on the shelves. She did not return. September 12th, 2001, USA. A guy in Spartanburg, South Carolina calls and says that his weed trimmer was in the Twin Towers in New York City the day before and got destroyed by terrorists and demanded I replace it under warranty. I've heard that at least one divorce came out of the attack. The guy worked, and one of the towers and his wife called in terrified asking where he was, and he said him at work, when he was in fact with his mistress. He wasn't aware that his work didn't exist anymore. Years ago I worked at a small hardware store where they were constantly getting huge rolls of copper wire stole. One day this guy and his girlfriend come in to return a roll. I was a few months in on the returns counter. They had no receipt, and when I scanned the item for the return it was only doing the price per foot. I couldn't figure out how to get the SKU or the price for the whole roll. Called the manager, and he comes out and right away knows there's no way these people bought a roll and returned it. So he asks when they bought it, and they say 2 weeks ago. The common response, and my manager tells them, oh really, because the last time we sold an entire roll was over 3 months ago. The guy starts to get brave and tells him, so you're saying I stole it? And my manager says yes. They end up leaving and left the roll behind. Before they leave the store the guy says I'm coming back and bringing the cops. Manager says go ahead, that way you can explain to them how you stole the roll. Sold a guy a phone years ago when I worked for a wireless carrier. Spent an hour getting all his information transferred and set up his new phone. He comes in the next day with a shattered screen. Apparently he didn't remember that I was the rep who helped him and proceeded to tell me that is how it looked when he left the store. Needless to say, the phone was not replaced. A woman came in, grabbed an herb roasted rotisserie chicken, moseyed over to the casual seating, ate 85% of it with her bare hands, then brought the carcass to customer service and tried to return it. We had some members of the traveling community pull into our car park one summer. Guy comes to the till to buy 2 patio kits at £50 each. I tell him the total is £100 and he says he bought one for £50 the day before in another branch. I say yes, but you're buying 2 so it's doubled. He then starts to argue that I'm overcharging him. This went on for 10 minutes with me explaining that he's buying 2 so it's more expensive than 1. His entire plan was to attempt to hold up the queue to a point where it'd give him 1 for free by acting like a dumb frick. Once he realized the queue had disappeared, due to it being a freaking huge DIY store with multiple cashiers, he suddenly clicked and paid up, never to be seen again. We don't deliver the pizzas we make, it's carry out only. Had a customer call and have a long/angry conversation with me because I wouldn't deliver to her. She proceeds to say a couple times, you must be new here. I know the owner personally, to which I responded, well I'm the owner's daughter and we don't deliver. The store was open until midnight the 2 last nights of the financial year calendar. Apparently the store thought someone might come in at 11:59, the last chance they had to deck out their entire office with new laptops and chairs and shoot. After about 9 PM the store was pretty much a complete ghost town. By 10 PM to 11 PM the store was the cleanest it ever was since it was built. On this one night the phone rang at about 11:30 PM. The guy wanted to know if we were still open because he wanted to buy something specific. It turned out we had it in stock, and he told me several times that he was going to get out of his pajamas, get dressed and come down to the store. I was like, Sure. The item will be at the front counter whenever you're here to collect it. So he turns up and tells me again that he had to get out of his pajamas, get dressed and come down to the store to pick up this item. It was about 11:45 PM by this point, and so I just told him how much it was going to cost, and then he asked for a discount. I said why. He said for being your last customer of the evening. I told him no, there's no reason for giving out that kind of a discount, and besides, we weren't closed yet. There might be other customers, you know. He might not have been the last one that night, and besides, it costs what it costs. He told me again that he had to get out of his pajamas, get dressed and come to the store to buy this item. He paid full price for all his troubles. Mart returns counter had a guy try to return a CD with receipt. The shrink wrap had been sliced and the CD taken out. He claimed it was like that when he bought it. I told him I couldn't return it for cash, but could swap it for the same thing. He went to get a new CD and brought some other artist. Told him it had to be the exact same thing. I had the electronics employee bring up the right CD. As I checked that they were the same and told him I would give him a new one, a smile grew on his face, which quickly melted away when I took out a knife and cut open the plastic on the CD. No, you can't return that one later. Another scammer that I actually caught was this guy who was paralyzed on the left half of his body. He walked slowly around the store, dropping stuff and drooling. Never did find out if he was actually paralyzed or just part of the scam. One day I caught him bagging OxyClean in his cart. Notified LP and she watched him. He went through self-checkout and told me he bought the OxyClean in electronics. LP called electronics. No such sale was made. I think she let him go that time, but the next time he came in, he got a police escort. This one was an insider job. This guy who worked in electronics also did layaway. One of the service desk girls would put a giant bag of dog food in layaway. Then the electronics guy would empty the bag and fill it with expensive electronics. Turns out they had been getting away with this for years. Then the LP staff changed and the new lady knew how to police the place. But a guy comes in to fill his son's Adderall script. Guy is super twitchy and son is chill as could be. For all controls we are supposed to run a report that shows everywhere in the state they have filled any. Of course the report is a mess. Multiple pharmacies, multiple scripts, multiple doctors, all the red flags. To top it off, an Adderall script within that week had been filled, so we really couldn't fill this one. Dad comes back, we tell him that we can't fill it, and dad starts going on about how his wife must have filled it, but they need some for today blah blah blah. We decline and his last words to us are back quote, my son needs them for a birthday he has to go to today, can't you help? No dude, we can't help. You're clearly taking your son's pills. Get help and stop using your son to get high on prescription drugs. Years ago I worked at a Walmart and this guy comes in trying to return his Wi-Fi that doesn't work. I just bought this for my kids last week and it's already broken, but they won't take it back because I lost my receipt. The Wi-Fi in question was the most beat up and disgusting looking gamma cube I have ever seen, like he found it in a landfill or something. I should also point out that I wasn't working the return desk or even a cashier. I was stocking the food department. Turns out he was trying to talk every employee in the store into either giving him a refund or a Wi-Fi. Just yesterday I had a till tapper / quick change artist try to money shuffle me for what would have been a grand sum of $5. Pissed him off when I wouldn't play his game. Next best was someone calling wanting to know if we had spare empty boxes for Xbox consoles because he wanted to prank his kid and give him an empty box. I know very well he wanted to try to stuff the box with who knows what and attempt a return. Of course, the folks at customer service check such boxes for actual product and match serials to those on the box. One of my embarrassing memories from working retail is falling for one of these scams. I had actually been a cashier for probably 5 years at this point and had never heard of this particular method. I had seen people come in with cloned credit cards, barcodes switched and placed on the wrong product, returns that are filled with junk counterfeit money, etc., but never had heard of this type of thing. Some guy came in and wanted to pay for a cheap item with a $100 bill. I count out his change, and I'm about to hand it over, let's say 95. 15 when he changes his mind and says, oh wait, give me that $100 back, I have exact change. I can give you the 85 cents so that you won't need to give me the coins and you can just give me the $95. And frick if I didn't just hand it over. He spaced it out just long enough that I was still holding the $95, and because I had to take time to put the coins away by that point I completely forgot that I had given him back his $100. I had no idea it had happened until the next day when my manager brought me in to review the video and asked me if I remembered the customer on the screen. I did, because the asshole was friendly and we had chatted while I started ringing him up. I even told my manager, oh yeah, nice guy, and then was informed of what had happened. It's one of the few times in my life I can remember being honestly startled and blown away that I hadn't realized what happened. I work at a major cell phone retailer. I once had a man come in with his wife to do an upgrade to whatever the new iPhone was at that time. While they were sitting in the store working with one of my reps, I was in management at the time, the wife starts getting text messages from someone claiming to be her husband's mistress. This did not go over well. They took it outside before it got overly nasty, and we all assumed they were gone for good. Not so. The husband comes back in alone. He finishes upgrading his phone priorities and left. The very next day he tried to return the phone claiming that we had sold him one with screen damage. He brings it in, and it looks like someone took a diamond ring or something to the screen and scratched the heck out of it. Now we have a strict open the box and hand it to the customer before they leave policy to avoid these situations. I was able to pull tape, show the customer where he held the phone for a good 5 minutes without pointing out any flaws, and tell him that my company offers no warranty on that brand, even if it's bad out of the box, and especially when he didn't show it to us before leaving the store. I suggested he take it up with the manufacturer if he truly believed the phone was damaged out of the box. He did. Right there in the store he called them. They also told him to kick rocks. The best part? I was new to management, so I didn't have manager name tag yet. He asked to speak to the manager, and I got to give him my best evil grin and say I'm the manager. He left after that, and we never saw him again. A customer brought back a jumpsuit for a refund because it had shoot in it. Apparently it had been like that when she bought it. It stank so bad that you could smell it through the taped up plastic bags that she had put it in. The levels of how impossible that would have been to be unnoticed by changing room staff, to then be put on the shop floor, to then be picked up by the customer, to being bought via a cashier still unnoticed. The worst part is some idiot on the refunds counter downstairs actually accepted it and put it on top of the trolley full of other returned items for us to put back upstairs, complete with a note stapled to it that said warning, feces inside. One of the bigger WTF moments I've had in any job that I've worked. Edit. Formatting. Still not used to the way Reddit treats paragraph breaks p. I used to work at Best Buy. This guy came in and returned a laptop saying that the box had some old laptop in it. He was yelling and screaming that we don't know how to do business. Manager gave him full refund. We started to check that old laptop he brought in. It won't turn on. Looks like the motherboard was toast. We pulled the hard drive out and started checking the data. Hard drive was completely fine with everything on it. We started looking for the clues and found the pictures of the guy who returned the laptop. It was his old machine. We had all his info. Manager called him and said he has 15 minutes to bring the new laptop back or he is calling police. That guy came in, dropped the laptop at front desk. Never saw him again in the store. I had a customer come to purchase some stuff, and they had found a coupon from 3 years ago on Google Images for 50% off whole purchase. I told her I can't do that, and the only one we had going at the time was not viable for her purchase. She yelled stupid loud, stormed out cursing, and I felt good. She emailed corporate, and I got in trouble for making her upset. At my old job, they used to have sales pretty often and would also give out coupons for specific dates. For Boxing Day, they had a 30% off sale and we'd also given out coupons that would start the next day. Lady comes in on Boxing Day and we worked out that she'd get more of a deal if she used the coupon instead, so I offered to hold her items for her. I explicitly told her that she wouldn't be able to get the 30% off, and she decided to use the coupon instead. She comes back the next day, goes to Kashuto purchase her items, and gets angry because they wouldn't give her both the 30% off and let her use the coupon. She told the cashier that the person she'd spoken to the day before had told her she could do that, sees me, and says it was that girl who told me. I went to Kashuto speak to her. I was a key holder at the time and her story changed about 3 times through the whole thing. First she said that I told her she could combine the discounts, then she said that I never told her she couldn't combine the discounts, and then finally it was, well, I don't understand why I'm not able to do this. Another manager came over to help sort it out, and as I walked away I heard her saying that I was a liar. Now, I work at Sephora, and we always get people trying to return fake products. My favorite one was when someone returned a face mask, but had put a can of tuna in the box instead of the actual face mask. Not sure if it qualifies as a scam or not, probably just attempted shoplifting. When I was working as an electronics cashier, I asked a woman if she needed help buying a TV. She said no thanks, and placed a smart TV into her cart. I asked her if she wanted to make the purchase at electronics, and she said she wanted to pick up a couple more things in electronics. I went to help another customer when I realized the woman was rushing towards the front of the store with the TV. I immediately radioed loss prevention that someone was trying to run out with a TV, and they stopped her at the door. Her immediate defense was, I paid for this in electronics. I just left the receipt in my car. I have no idea how that made logical sense in her mind, since of course she couldn't have the receipt in her car if she just bought the TV in electronics. I'd like to return this unopened pack of cigarettes I purchased earlier today at your establishment. Might be paraphrasing a little bit. I open the store every day, hadn't seen this dude once that day, looked at his cigarettes, it's a brand we don't carry, asked him for a receipt to confirm he purchased them here, but he obviously didn't have one. That's fine. If you can just tell me what time you were in here today, I can look it up on our cameras to confirm your purchase. My god, the backpedaling and stuttering. I grabbed his cigarette pack and fake examined them. Wait a moment, sir, are you sure you purchased these at this store? I don't think we carry this brand. He took the cigarettes back, came up with something about his brother, must have yada yada, and then he walked out. A tobacco store in town sells some of the brands we carry at a much cheaper price, so people like to try and do returns at our store to make a quick buck. We generally don't take any returns on tobacco, but this guy didn't even scope out his mark. Edit. Resident of Indiana. Couldn't find anything pertaining to the legality of tobacco returns in my state. If it helps, anytime the ATF drops in for a checkup, the only question we get asked is if we sell individual cigarettes. Outside of that, I've worked a few retail jobs where tobacco was sold, and I wasn't told at any of them that tobacco returns were illegal. I'm assuming it's more individual store policy on whether or not they take returns, and I've worked retail long enough to see how an employee would tell someone it's illegal rather than against store policy, just to help avoid an argument. Not to say it might not be illegal in other states, just that I don't think it is in mine. Oh boy, back in high school, when I worked part-time at a KFC, there was this one fat man who would come in, order a 2-piece quarter pack, and then claim we forgot his chick. Like, when we turned around to fetch his drink at the end of the order, he would open the box, take out the chicken pieces and hide them in his pockets. Hot chick right in his pockets. I got so fed up with everyone just giving him extra chicken all the time that I demanded he turned out his pockets one day when he tried to pull it, and wow, lo and behold, this guy has his pockets full of drumsticks. Worked in a bottle shop. One afternoon a shady character entered and spent 10 minutes browsing the liquor section. I stayed at the checkout and watched him on the CCTV. He ended up shoving 2 bottles of Johnny Walker Blue down his pants and walked out. Store policy is not to confront shoplifters. That's what insurance is for. I called the police and burned the footage onto a DVD for them to collect. About an hour later, the same guy returns with the bottles demanding a cash refund because he purchased the wrong type. Just as I was telling him I can't do a refund without a receipt, the police walked in to collect the footage. He left with them in handcuffs. I was working at a place that has soft serve as a part of the menu. I was working one day and a lady came up to the counter and said something along the lines of, "Hey, I'm really sorry, my daughter dropped her ice cream and she's really sad about it. Do you think you could give me another?" I was about to, then realized an important fact. The ice cream was broken that day and we weren't selling any. I looked back at her and told her that it must not be from us because of the machine. She turned bright red and mumbled, "Oh, then I guess it must be from Dairy Queen or something," and left quickly. Nice try, lady. Worked at Arby's as a teenager. This was around 1990. A guy comes in, orders a sandwich and fries, and wants to pay with a check. This being the olden days, people paid with check all the time. But this guy tries to tell me it's easier for the bank if he makes it out to himself instead of to Arby's because, well, he fired off some convoluted, off-the-cuff bullshit designed to just gallop me into buying the story. I was young and naive, but not that naive. He got mad when I denied him, called me stupid. I asked if he'd like to talk to the manager and he agreed. 3 minutes later, my manager is giving the guy stink eye and the dude leaves with no sandwich. Nice try, asshole.